أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Because today was the birth anniversary of our second Imam, Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhi salatu wassalam, for barakah and for blessings, I would like to just mention one saying of our second Imam, a wisdom that is especially relevant to the month of Ramadan and our current practice of fasting and attempting to purify our soul in addition to controlling our body and our appetite. Imam Hasan alayhi salam said, عجب لمن يتفكر في مأكوله كيف لا يتفكر في معقوله. It is surprising that many people, they think about their ma'kul, their food from akl, but they don't think about their ma'kul, their food for the soul, from the Arabic word aql. So when it comes to our food, we want to make sure that our food is enjoyable. We want to make sure that our food is healthy for us. But when it comes to our knowledge, we are not concerned about the authenticity, about the health of our knowledge and our thinking. And of course, ma'aqul is more general than just knowledge, but that which goes on in our mind, that which goes on in our heart, our ideas, our thoughts. We are not as concerned with making sure that they are wholesome and beneficial to us. The Imam continues, فَيُجَنِّبُ بَطْنَهُ مَا يُؤْذِي. A person will avoid, when it comes to their akl and their eating, avoid putting in their batn, in their stomach, anything that is going to give them adiyya, ma yu'zi. If I know that a certain food does not agree with me, if I know that I am allergic to a certain food, those people who cannot digest milk, they generally avoid dairy products. Those people who may be allergic to some other food, they might ask, does this food contain that one ingredient that I'm allergic to? We avoid putting in our stomach that which is going to cause adiyya to us. وَيُودِعُ صَدْرَهُ مَا يُرْدِيهِ. Yet that person willingly eats into their soul, feeds their soul, something that will cause them to be dishonored. Ma yurdi, that which will put a person down and dishonor a person, meaning my thoughts, my imagination, my intentions. I'm not concerned about making sure that they don't include anything that is going to be unworthy of who I am as a servant of Allah. So Imam Hasan alayhi salam says, just like for your physical health and your physical body, you are concerned with what you eat, for your spiritual health and for your soul, you should be concerned with the food for your emotions and for your mind. Make sure that you don't allow yourself to read, to listen to think about those things that are unworthy of a human soul, that will take away your courage to do what is right, or that will motivate you or tempt you to do something that is inappropriate. And that is the ideal fast. The ideal fast is one where we are taking care of our body and disciplining our appetite for food, as well as taking care of our spiritual body and disciplining our appetite for consuming information, our words, our thoughts, and those elements that affect our spiritual life, they should also be in our control. May Allah grant us the love and the intercession of Imam Hasan alayhi salatu wasalam and Ahlul Bayt, especially on this anniversary of the birth of our Imam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Yesterday we began looking at some of the teachings of Risalatul Huquq of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wassalam, and we mentioned the first right that Imam Zainul Abidin mentions. This is Haqqullahil Akbar, the greatest right of Allah, because all of the other rights that the Imam is going to describe, they are also Huququllah, they are the rights of Allah. But because Allah has legislated certain roles for us, certain responsibilities that we fulfill in our life, we have these other responsibilities. The greatest right is the one that we owe Allah. There is a right that Allah has upon our shoulders, and if we fulfill that right, then Allah, in His generosity, because He was not required to do this, He does not owe us anything, He has also given us a right that He has obligated Himself to fulfill. That right for us is أَن تَعْبُدَهُ وَلَا تُشْرِكَ بِهِ شَيْئًا. We should worship Allah and not associate any partners with Allah. And then if we do that, then Allah has guaranteed that أَن يَكْفِيَكَ أَمْرَ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. He will take care of our worldly affairs and our otherworldly affairs, or the affairs that pertain to our hereafter, meaning He will protect us in this life and He will protect us from punishment in the hereafter. Now, after that, Imam Zainul Abidin mentions some of those rights that we are responsible for observing and honoring within our lives. And this includes the various roles that we play as a human being. But right after Haqqullah, the Imam mentions wa haqqun nafsik. Because remember, any right that I am going to fulfill in my life, that begins from me. If I value my soul, if I understand the potential of my own soul, then I will value all of the other obligations as a human being that I am supposed to fulfill. So after Haqqullahil Akbar alayk, the Imam mentions wa haqqu nafsika alayk. The right of your own soul on yourself, an tasta'milaha bi ta'atillahi azza wa jalla. Use your soul, utilize the faculties of your existence bi ta'atillah, to obey Allah and not to disobey. You have control over the nafs, and you can allocate those faculties and those resources in good or in evil. Use them, allocate them for what is noble and what is good. And then the Imam moves on to the faculties of our nafs. The nafs operates on our limbs, on our senses. Our senses, they are the inputs that bring perception and information to our soul, and then our soul gives a command, and our tongue speaks, our eyes look and process information, our hands do, our feet walk and go somewhere. So then the Imam mentions the faculties that are inputs for the soul, or that are where the soul expresses itself and acts. After the nafs, the Imam says, وَحَقُّ اللِّسَانِ, the right of your tongue. What is the right of our tongue? إِكْرَامُهُ عَنِ الْخَنَا. First of all, we should honor our tongue. This is a miracle. This is a gift given to us by Allah. I shouldn't speak cheaply or ignorantly, using insulting language, using street language, using dishonorable language. That should not be how I treat my tongue. وَتَعْوِيدُهُ الْخَيْرِ. I should make my tongue accustomed to saying good things. That's a habit. And if we make a certain habit, then even subconsciously our tongue will follow those patterns. If I have somebody that I admire very highly or I love, I might subconsciously admire their speech. If I watch TV shows that are filled with obscenities and profanities, then those thoughts or those words will enter into my tongue. When you hear profanity and obscenity, because we can't always control it, in the political environment, in the social environment, in the work environment, if you do happen to watch TV, then say Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. Say Subhanallah or other dhikr of Allah to remind yourself of Allah whenever you see something, you hear something that is unworthy of your tongue, unworthy of your ears. So the right of our tongue is to honor our tongue, to train it, to say what is khayr, what is constructive and good. وَحَقُّ السَّمْعِ. Then the right of your ears, the right of your listening, your hearing is تَنْزِيهُهُ عَنْ سَمَاعِ الْغِيبَةِ وَسَمَاعِ مَا لَا يَحِلُّ سَمَاعُهُ. Keep your tongue, keep your ears free of hearing something that is ghiba, gossip, or hearing something that is prohibited. Forms of haram speech, forms of insulting speech, false attributions made about religion, cynical speech about God or about godly values, music that is haram or other sounds that are haram that encourage the soul to become rebellious, anything that is unworthy of a person, we should avoid listening to it. So once again, the sequence is Haqqullah al-Akbar, the greatest right of Allah, Haqqu nafsik, the right of your soul, and then now the faculties and the arena in which the soul operates, Haqqul lisan, Haqqul sam', Haqqul basar, the right of your eyes. I don't need to mention what the right is. You can read that in the detailed hadith of Risalatul Huquq, but the sequence is important for us. Obviously, the right of the eyes is to protect them from seeing what is haram. وَحَقُّ يَدَيْكَ. Now the limbs. The right of your hands. وَحَقُّ رِجْلَيْكَ. The right of your 2 feet. So again, the details are mentioned very concisely, very beautifully by Imam Zainul Abidin, and I will move forward and skip some of those details. But the Imam mentions our hands with which we do things, our feet with which we move and go to different places in our life. وَحَقُّ بَطْنِكَ. The right of our stomach, our consumption. وَحَقُّ فَرْجِكَ. The right of our private parts. After these limbs that are the organs of our soul, the faculties and the arena in which our soul acts, then the Imam moves on to our acts of worship. Our obligations to Allah, they are also part of the system of rights and responsibilities that we are responsible for. Haqqus salat. What is the right of salat? We tend to think of salat as something that we owe Allah, but we owe something to salat itself. Salat, according to some ahadith and our other acts of worship, they will take a human form. They will be personified in the day of judgment, and they will intercede for us. They will comfort us in our solitude in the hereafter. When we will be alone in our grave on the day of judgment, our good deeds, our recitation of Quran, our help that we provided our fellow believers, our prayer, they will be with us, provide us company and comfort. Haqqus salah, the right of your salah. And just to get an idea of what the Imam speaks of, I will briefly mention part of that right. أن تعلم أنها وفادة إلى الله عز وجل. You should know that salat is your opportunity to be in the company of Allah. And imagine if you work in a company and you have a direct line to the CEO of that company to solve problems you may have, to address concerns that will allow you to be much more effective and much more influential than somebody who doesn't have a direct line to upper management or to the CEO. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a direct line 5 times a day to meet our needs, to connect to Him through prayer and through dhikr. That is salat. So it is an opportunity that has been given to us, and we should value that gift of salat. وَحَقُّ الْحَجِّ. Just like prayer is a form of wifada and a delegation where you can visit Allah, حق الحج أن تعلم أنه وفادة إلى ربك وفرار إليه من ذنوبك. Similarly, Hajj is also a visit to Allah, and it is fleeing away from your sins. So Hajj, we owe something to Hajj. Not only do we owe it to Allah, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. Not only do we owe Allah the performance of Hajj, but we owe it to Hajj to perform it well. We owe it to Hajj to pray to Allah to grant us the tawfiq and the opportunity to go for Hajj. And if we have performed Hajj, then in the month of Ramadan, if you can look at the du'as that have been narrated for the month of Ramadan from Ahlul Bayt, almost all of those du'as contain that prayer, وَارْزُقْنِي فِيهِ حَجَّ بَيْتِكَ الْحَرَامِ. Oh Allah, grant me the pilgrimage to your house, that is your chosen place of worship, your chosen house on the face of the earth, a place that was beloved to the Prophet, to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam. Allah grant me to perform Hajj. And if we know that we're not going to be able to perform Hajj this year, we might not be able to afford it, or we have other obligations on our money, on our time, then we should still make that dua, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will count us among those people who value Hajj, who understand the right of that obligation on our shoulders. And if I can't go, I might be able to assist other people, maybe sponsor somebody else to go for Hajj. Or I might be able to build up my savings, my time, so that every few years I will either be able to go for Hajj myself or send somebody for Hajj. So that prayer should not be seen as something that can only be done by somebody who is intending to go for Hajj that particular year. When we say, وَارْزُقْنِي فِيهِ حَجَّ بَيْتِكَ الْحَرَامَ, oh Allah, grant me the pilgrimage to your house, that is a statement that I understand the importance of Hajj, the right of Hajj on the shoulders of every Muslim, and the fact that this should be something that we aspire to and we value. Or in other du'as, وَارْزُقْنِي حَجَّ بَيْتِكَ الْحَرَامِ فِي عَامِي هَذَا وَفِي كُلِّ عَامٍ. Oh Allah, grant me performance of Hajj in this year and in every year. That is the importance that Ahlul Bayt and their du'as attached to the performance of Hajj. وَحَقُّ الصَّوْمِ. What is the right of Sawm? Fasting. أَن تَعْلَمَ أَنَّهُ حِجَابٌ ضربه الله عز وجل على لسانك وسمعك وبصرك وبطنك وفرجك. Fasting is not just something for your diet. It's not just something nowadays. Intermittent fasting is said to be very healthy and beneficial for us. That's not the extent of what fasting is for. Nor is fasting for us just to develop a sympathy with those who are less fortunate and do not have enough to eat, so that we become sympathetic and more charitable to those who are poor. Those are all benefits of fasting. But the right of fasting is for us to know أنه hijab, that is a veil, a protective shield or curtain that Allah has placed ala lisanik, to prevent our tongue, our hearing, our sight, our stomach, our private parts, yasturuka bihi minan nar, so that with those limbs we do not approach the fire. This is a way for us to test our willpower. And when we have willpower, we can control what we say. We can control what we watch. We can control our other actions. فَإِن تَرَكْتَ الصَّوْمَ خَرَقْتَ سِتْرَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكَ. If a person does not fast, or if a person does not appreciate the spiritual dimension to fasting, then خَرَقْتَ سِتْرَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكَ. You have ripped that protective shield that Allah has placed. You have allowed that infection, to use the example that many people are concerned about in this time of lockdown. You have ripped open that protective curtain and allowed the infection, allowed the damage, the potential punishment of fire to come and cause harm to you with your own hands. وَحَقُّ الصَّدَقَةِ. Another act of worship, even though it's not wajib, or some forms of sadaqah are not wajib. In the Quran, sadaqat does include zakat. So zakat, zakatul fitra, or other wajib obligations can be included, but then there are recommended forms of sadaqah. And for those of us whom Allah has blessed with abundant blessings and resources and wealth, our sadaqah should be a big part of our budget, what we can contribute to our fellow believers. Another beautiful hadith of Imam Hasan alayhi salatu wassalam, he said that, let me tell you what it is to be bakhil, to be stingy. Stinginess, bukhl, is an yara al-rajulu ma anfaqahu talafan wa ma amsakahu sharafan. If you think something that you spend in the way of Allah is wasted, and that which you keep is nobility. Ma anfaqahu, what you spend in the way of Allah, that is your sharaf, that is your nobility. And what you keep and you take pride, I have this much money in the bank, that is talaf, that's wasted. It's a resource that is not being used. You don't have a productive asset if it's not earning anything for you. Rather, it's being eaten away by inflation and at risk for being lost. Sharaf is what you spend in the way of Allah, and talaf, or waste, is what you keep and don't use productively for a worthy cause. But many of us, we flip that logic and we become bakhil, because we think that what we have that makes us wealthy or feel wealthy, that is our nobility. And that which we have spent, I get caught in the masjid fundraiser and I have to give money in a worthy cause. If I get that call and out of a sense of obligation, I give some money to a worthy cause, then I feel like, well, that was something that I lost. So sadaqah has a right on us. That was a hadith of Imam Hasan alayhi salam. And now back to Risalatul Huquq of Imam Zainul Abidin. The right of sadaqah is for us أن تعلم أنها ذخرك عند ربك ووديعتك التي لا تحتاج إلى الإشهاد عليها. Your sadaqah is your savings. Your sadaqah is your treasure that you have sent forth, and Allah will keep it. And then you don't need any witnesses. You don't need a PIN number. You don't need a verified signature or a password in order to access it. Allah knows, and He will give it to you when you are in greatest need of it. وَحَقُّ الْحَادِي, the right of your sacrifice, the sacrifice of an animal in Hajj or in Eid al-Adha, that you give for the sake of Allah, and the meat of which goes to feed those who may not have enough to eat, or your fellow believers. That is also an act of worship, and you should do that well. Don't try to offer a sacrifice and just give the cheapest sacrifice that you can. Some people, they shop around and they say, I want to give a sacrifice. So where is the price of the goat the cheapest? Is it Afghanistan this year, or is it in Africa, or is it Bangladesh? Look for where it can give the greatest good or benefit. And then if it is cheap in that society where you can do the greatest benefit, then don't just give the smallest animal that you can. Give 2 sheep, give 2 goats, give a greater amount of the sacrifice so that it can provide benefit and food to a greater number of people. Your sacrifice also is something that has a right on you. Do it beautifully and do it well, and not just economically. وَحَقُّ السُّلْطَانِ. Then the Imam mentions the right of your government. Now this is interesting, and I would like to read what the Imam says here as well. The Imam, the 4th Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, lived in the time of oppressive governments. This was the time of Banu Umayyah. First, the end of the Umayyad, the Sufyani era, when Yazid ibn Muawiyah, and then for a very brief time, the son of Yazid, who did not continue the oppression of his ancestors, when they ruled. And then after that, the time of the Marwani rulers, the descendants of Marwan ibn al-Hakam and Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. These were the rulers in the time of Imam Zainul Abidin. So they were the worst rulers, that even people who were not followers of Ahlul Bayt, they were displeased with their injustice and they rebelled against their evil. And yet Imam Zainul Abidin says, وَحَقُّ السُّلْطَانِ, that political authority in your time, there is a right. أَن تَعْلَمَ أَنَّكَ جُعِلْتَ لَهُ فِتْنَةً. You are a test for those who are in authority over you. وَأَنَّهُ مُبْتَلًا فِيكَ بِمَا جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لَهُ عَلَيْكَ مِنَ السُّلْطَانِ. Your authorities, your political leaders, they are tested by the authority and the power that they have over you as a citizen or as a subject. So don't feel that because they are unjust or because they are evil, you can do whatever you want. Any kind of false rumor, you can spread it. Any kind of harsh statement, you can go ahead and publicize it. No, you have a responsibility. Even if that person is evil like the Umayyads were, you should know that that authority is tested by that power. وَأَنَّ عَلَيْكَ أَنْ لَا تَتَعَرَّضَ لِسَخَطِهِ فَتُلْقِيَ بِيَدِكَ إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ. You have an obligation, first of all, when you have an oppressive government, not to provoke that government, because then they will have an overreaction and they will act with aggression towards you, and then you will be the cause of your own destruction. So the right is that you act with wisdom and with caution, with taqiyya. وَتَكُونَ شَرِيكًا لَهُ فِي مَا يَأْتِي إِلَيْكَ مِنْ سُوءٍ. If you provoke that government, then you will be a cause of the evil that comes to you. And now what the Imam is speaking here of is not that you should submit to injustice or that you should be silent about injustice, but you should recognize that there is a natural tendency when people have economic power, political power, that brings abuse. And for me to just say that the problem is the person of the ruler, that is not accurate. And that does not lead to a long-term solution. The problem is the nature of how power is exercised, the temptation for abuse and oppression that it brings about. I do oppose those people who are exercising power in an abusive manner, but I also recognize that if they were to leave and somebody else were to come in their place, then very soon they too will continue that same oppression. So I don't just spend my energy fighting something that is a symptom of the problem, but not the source of the problem. When the Umayyads were overthrown by the Abbasid revolution, many people thought that the Imams now would have an easy time. In fact, people came to the Imams with a great deal of hope. And the Imam said that these are not our Shia, these are not our followers. And the oppression of the Abbasids was even more harsh, and it certainly was not less harsh than that of the Umayyads, because the nature of the system had not changed. The nature of society had not changed. And so they recreated an other kingdom that was as oppressive or more oppressive than what came before it. So, in my understanding, we should not misunderstand this portion of Risalatul Huquq to say that you should be passive and accepting of the oppression of the government. Rather, the Imam is saying that you should recognize that there is a deeper issue that causes sultan and political authorities to be unjust, and that deeper issue is not just the person of the ruler, but the system that empowers them. And therefore you have to be wise, not accepting, not passive, not isolated, but wise in how you respond so you don't cause more harm to yourself and try to solve those problems in the long term. A very profound message. Because we are almost out of time, I will just mention a few of the other rights. The Imam then mentions the right of your teacher, sa'isik bil ilm, And then the Imam mentions, now, if he said the people who are in authority over you and your teachers, then the Imam comes, وَأَمَّا حَقُّ رَعِيَّتِكَ بِالسُّلْطَانِ وَأَمَّا حَقُّ رَعِيَّتِكَ بِالْعِلْمِ. Those now who are your people under your authority and those people who are your students. So both the teacher and the political ruler and the student and the political follower or dependent. And then the Imam mentions your spouse, your parents, first mother, then father, then your children, your family members, and then those who have done favors to you, those who have shown animosity towards you, your friends, your neighbors, your associates, those to whom you owe money, people to whom you are in debt, the right of your money itself, people who offer you advice, elder, younger, people who may be in need, people who are followers of your religion, and people who are followers of another religion. A very beautiful hadith. It's known as Risalatul Huquq. May Allah grant us the ability to remember those huquq and honor all of those huquq that the Imam has taught us about. That is all we have time for. Please remember me and your fellow believers in your du'as, especially in the upcoming nights of Qadr. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.